Are we going? Merry Christmas, everyone, and happy holidays. This is your Cellar Series subscription for December 2022. Let's do this. It's winter time. Come on over, Nick. I got some wines to show you. Welcome to December, my friends. We've got a pretty awesome little bundle of wines here for you going into the holiday season. I'm pretty excited. I'm always excited about releasing these, six packs. But when we have kind of a pretty big holiday on the horizon, holidays, it really is kind of an opportunity to kind of put some wines to work. With some sparkling right here. Some kind of earthier reds, some kind of textured whites. I just get a little bit more kind of invested in the wines, which makes me excited to share them with you all. So without further ado, we are going to jump into our our first kind of wine right here, which is a wine that is very, very limited. There might be just a couple few accounts anywhere in the state that are going to be able to work with this wine this year because it's so small. So this is Tripot, Céline et Laurent Tripot. This is their Cremant de Bourgogne, and this is their Brut Nature. Brut Nature is a style of sparkling wine that I would say it doesn't always kind of work. You have to have really, really high quality farming in order to kind of like get these wines off the ground. But this producer right here, started in 1986. They farm 11.5 hectares, which is a pretty small kind of farm that they work off of, and it's all biodynamic, more or less kind of since day one. So it spends about 2.5 to 3 years on the yeast in the bottle, which really kind of gives it a little more depth, a little more texture, which is kind of what we're all looking for. 100% Chardonnay in the very, very southern part of Burgundy, where you're going to see like if we say the wines from the Macon. It really is Chardonnay country. You don't really see sparkling wines as a feature per se, but yeah, I mean, they do a pretty damn good job at it, and this is their sparkling wine. So I think it's something like 7 cases of this come to the state. So kind of just that really fun thing where we kind of see it coming down the line, and we just say, let's taste it, and it was awesome. I just had a taste of it yesterday, and there was about this much in the bottle, left out on the counter, unrefrigerated, and I just tasted it. I really kind of just drank it from the bottle. I was really excited about it. It's really, really good. It's a great indication for any wine on day 2 when it really kind of just like shows you its kind of true colors with all of its freshness. So moving on to a different part of France, this is Marc Bredef. This is their Classique Vouvray. So in 2021, this producer right here, makes. Vouvray is kind of a jack of all trades appellation. They make sparkling. They make bone dry, kind of racy whites with a little bit of sweetness, and then full blown like dessert style whites. This kind of falls on that spectrum of dry, crisp, focused mineral. The Chenin Blanc really kind of gives you that more chiseled quality to it, which I kind of like as part of this range right here. It's kind of set up as more potentially like aperitif style, I guess I would say. It's not that big, heavy, round style of Chenin Blanc, which it kind of serves a purpose here with kind of being a little bit more focused on freshness, which I really, really like. So it's grown on clay and chalk soils with a little bit of that classic silex, which is flint in this area. So 9 months on the leaves to kind of develop more texture, but really it's about that kind of racy freshness, which is really kind of nice. Moving on to Santa Barbara, Aubin Clément. This is a producer, a very storied producer. Kind of the late great kind of legend Jim Clendenin, who was a real trailblazer in California for kind of making sure that the wine styles of Burgundy, kind of have a place in California. He's always made wines that show restraint and freshness versus kind of like big, sappy, heavy, like barreled up Chardonnay, and those are fun too. But this is decidedly much more kind of just elegant and restrained, which I really, really like. So, and even though it's Chardonnay is one of his main kind of calling cards. This is very much a different kind of beast, a different kind of Burgundian style wine, which is Pinot Gris and Pinot Blanc, which they also grow in Burgundy. So 60% Gris, 40% Blanc. Some old vines being put into play here. The Pinot Blanc comes from Bien Nacido, a really, really important vineyard, for many different grape styles in Santa Barbara, one of the great vineyards of California. It is barrel fermented in neutral barrel and spends an additional 6 months in neutral barrel. So it really develops this kind of spice to it, and it's just a really lovely alternative to Chardonnay, I guess. And just, that Gris and the Blanc kind of coming together, it's just this other style of wine, which I really, really like. So from a really, really high quality producer. Moving on to, Robert Princius, the proprietor at Gradis Sciutta. And this is a producer in the Collio. So we're in northern Italy, but we are north of Venice and slightly east, kind of north of Trieste. And in this area, these hills of the Collio and Friuli, this is from the Collio, we see some of the greatest, small estate bottlers in all of Italy. Pretty phenomenal white wines, and this guy really makes great white wine as well. But the kind of small production of the red wines is really, really special too. Cabernet Franc came to this part of Italy, kind of during the age of phylloxera, kind of late 19th century. They came from Bordeaux, and Cabernet Franc and Merlot have been in this part of Italy, for 140-ish years, and it really has a home there. I love, Collio style Cabernet Franc. They're more medium-bodied, more kind of expressive and kind of light on its feet. Plenty of freshness here, and just that kind of woodsy spice, which I really, really like with this kind of grape. And also, just Cabernet Franc plays into Cabernet Sauvignon as kind of like a half step in a way in terms of like the heft, but by no means do I think of it as a second wine. Just because you have kind of these big kind of broad flavors, which like we're going to get to with our very last wine, it doesn't mean that it doesn't have a strong place at the table or just kind of on its own. So Robert, we had a chance to taste with him about a month or so ago. I was really kind of just blown away by this wine. It wasn't even available yet. It was just a sample bottle, and I like instantly knew, I'm like, I want to use that for Cellar series. And again, I think there was like 14 cases that came to the state, and like we took a big chunk of them. So very, very excited to see his wines back in the Cellar series with a red, because we've featured his whites in the past. Okay. Moving on to northern Spain. This is a producer called Cune, and you have seen Cune on our shelves many times before. But this is their Reserva Imperial from 2017. And Cune is a producer that started by two brothers in the late 1800s in this village called Aro. And Aro is like, that's where Lopez de Heredia is. I think like Remoluri is just outside of that like village. There's just some really, really like superstars in that village for traditional style winemaking. And Cune is one of them. So the Imperial line is all of their estate fruit, mostly Tempranillo, like all things Rioja, but there's a little bit of Graciano and Mazuelo as part of it. It has kind of just this next level kind of earthiness to it, which is fantastic for an opportunity if you have any sort of like wild game at the table in the near future. Like lamb is very, very common and prominent in this area, and so it goes really great with kind of, I think like mushroom and wild rice, like just those kind of earthier flavors that we love to get into this time of year. Really, really lovely. So medium to full bodied, but just a great expression from that region, which I love tasting the wines from because they're so distinct. You can smell them and taste them like a mile away, which is cool. Okay, working into our last bottle right here, this is Fitch Mountain. Fitch Mountain is new to the shop. It's brand new to the marketplace, and it's from Sonoma. And so we don't get around to featuring too many Sonoma, or for that, that kind of just California Cabernet Sauvignons in this feature anymore. Because in a lot of ways they don't need much more of an introduction. We love the wines, we drink them regularly, but we also know that you kind of know them also. So when we see a new label, Mike and I tasted this, a few weeks ago, and we're like, whoa, like this is just such a great bottle. It's kind of got that Sonoma kind of focus to the fruit. Napa wines they're more expensive, always. So it's nice to see like Sonoma value as part of this, kind of just Sonoma values as part of the production of the wine. Tempered, measurement, like tempered kind of use of oak, and the wine just is not overly ripe. It has good acidity. It's refreshing, but it has plenty of depth and it's full-bodied. Like it's kind of just a good anchor to this whole set, where we've got like a great like natural winemaker right here, California kind of legend that makes more balanced wines. Like this is just like a warm kind of blanket on a cold night. It just is very comforting and kind of plays to a lot of our expectations with California wines for just being generous. Makes me happy. It makes me kind of thirsty at the moment also, being out here in the cold. So that is our Cellar Series description for December 2022. This is our last installment of the year. It's been a crazy year celebrating our 100th anniversary. But we have a lot to be thankful for going into 2023. And mostly you and your involvement in this series. So you can pick this up starting this Friday. And happy holidays to all of you from all of us. Thank you.